Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another video. Tales of the Empire drops on May 4th, all 6 episodes, 3 of which are going to show us Morgan Elsbeth's backstory and 3 focusing on Barriss Offee. And since I've already broken down the trailer in a separate video, today I'm not going to retread old territory, but instead I want to focus on a mystery the Morgan Elsbeth portion is finally going to answer. By the time we meet the Night Sister in The Mandalorian Season 2, she's already been working for Thrawn for quite some time. In 2020, when we first saw her in the episode The Jedi, fans had a lot of questions, some which granted have been answered in Ahsoka's first season since, and others which Tales of the Empire promises to address. As an industrialist, Morgan Elsbeth was instrumental in the construction of the Imperial Navy during the reign of the Empire, and the animated anthology series is going to show us the first time she meets Thrawn, how the tragedy of what happened to Dathomir by the Separatists is what drove her. It's her muse. After the fall of the Empire by 9 ABY, she was still allegiant to the Grand Admiral who was trying to bring him home from Peridia, and on top of being the Magistrate of Caladan on the city of Corvus, she was working on the Eye of Sion and infiltrating the New Republic, set up factories on Corellia. As the Magistrate of Corvus, she oppressed the people of Caladan, and what's really interesting is that she wasn't really under the radar as much as we think. Now we know in Chapter 13 Ahsoka was there looking for intel on Grand Admiral Thrawn. She kept asking Morgan Elsbeth, "Where is your master?" But until the trailer dropped for Tales of the Empire, we didn't have the full context. What we do know is that Bo-Katan was aware of Ahsoka's mission. She's the one who pointed Din Djarin and Grogu in her direction. But now we have a bigger picture, and here is my theory. As we see in the trailer, the New Republic got word of something mysterious going on Corvus, so they paid a visit to the Magistrate. She didn't like what they said, their threats of arrest, asking her questions like, are you part of the Remnant, are you an Imperial warlord, that kind of thing. And so Morgan destroys them, kills them. And so the next part of my theory is that Hera Syndulla gets word of missing New Republic officers and decides to take the matter to the Senate. The stubborn Xiono doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to risk another fleet, and so, knowing that if they find the whereabouts of Thrawn they find Ezra, Hera contacts Ahsoka Tano, and that is how I think she ends up on Corvus. And something so fascinating is how Morgan Elsbeth turned her hatred towards the Separatists, towards hatred of the New Republic. And why is she so loyal to Thrawn? Our answer to this is alluded to later in the timeline in Ahsoka Season 1. Even though Morgan Elsbeth dies at the end of that season, it's kind of implied Thrawn made a promise to Morgan Elsbeth and a deal with the Grey Mothers, one which concerns Dathomir and repopulating their people through Night Sister magic. It's all going to connect, and this show is promising backstory as well as answers. And with a tiny bit of luck, we might see how Morgan Elsbeth met Baylan and Shin. Now before we move on my dear friends, while we're on the subject of Grand Admiral Thrawn, I want to talk about something enormous in the most recent issue of the comic adaptation of Thrawn Alliances. The Grand Admiral knows Darth Vader's identity, and to his face, implies it. While some might think this is a slip-up, Vader's reaction is very interesting, and I think Thrawn was just trying to test him, just trying to push his buttons and witness his reaction. Although Thrawn correctly deduced that Vader was once Anakin Skywalker, he was far too intelligent to reveal it. That being said, he did come awfully close, and just for context, Thrawn had a mission with Anakin before the latter's turned to the dark side, and now he's working with him again. In the new issue, Thrawn Alliances number 4, here's how the conversation goes down. Darth Vader says they had already activated the engines and begun the pre-flight. Thrawn says, there is only one place in this region they could have learned to fly such a vessel, and Vader replies, Mokhev. And then here's the big bit, Thrawn says this, yes, specifically the Separatist factory we once assaulted. And Vader quickly retaliates, that you once assaulted, no one else aboard this ship was there. Thrawn is smug, and I can imagine him grinning, as he says, of course, I misspoke. Vader was very triggered by the insinuation that he was once Anakin. Of course, as we learned in the Kenobi show, Vader considers Anakin to be a different entity, one which he killed. In the mind of Vader, Anakin is dead. The ominous Sith is who remains. It also reminds me of Return of the Jedi, where Luke is trying to convince Vader he is still Anakin deep down. And of course, Luke being the catalyst to Anakin's redemption, he was right. And this sensitivity is on full display in this comic. Vader's threatening tone, and as I say, I think Thrawn was fully aware. He knew what he was doing. It was a tactical and intentional strategy. As we know from the book, Thrawn's testing of the waters is going to be useful in future issues of Thrawn Alliances. Thrawn chooses to invoke the name of Anakin only when absolutely necessary, and in the Ahsoka show, when he learns that Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan, he's frightened and panics, because during his first team up with Anakin during the Age of the Republic, he saw with his own eyes how destructive Anakin can be. Anakin, through impulse and anger, destroys the factory and mine they travel to, and knowing just how intelligent Thrawn is, if anyone were to make this deduction that Vader and Anakin were the same person, it would be the Chiss. He would have analysed certain mannerisms, his choice of words and demeanour, and to confirm this to himself, Thrawn pushed a reaction out of him by insinuating this connection to his face. And so now, my dear friends, we're coming up to the final 3 episodes, or 2 if you're watching this after episode 13, of the Bad Batch's final season. Now, Cryptic HD Quality on Twitter, who has been reliable as ever for many shows in the Star Wars universe, has revealed 2 of the runtimes but couldn't get the information on Tales of the Empire, nor the final episode of the Bad Batch's final season. Episode 15, The Cavalry, has arrived. That episode is so tightly under wraps, we've heard literally absolutely zero leaks for it. Usually there are a couple of rumours floating around, things people have heard, but none of the reviewers, none of the leakers, no one has seen it, no one knows anything. But fans are hoping this is going to be like the first episode of Season 1, Aftermath. That first episode with Caleb Doom, Depa Billaba, and the execution of Order 66, setting up the show perfectly, over an hour in length, and fans want the same for the final episode of the show. After episode 15 there is no more Bad Batch. And let's hope that just like for the first episode, Dave Filoni was heavily involved in the final one too. The creatives on the show a couple of weeks ago did tease this. They said there was far more involvement of Dave Filoni. He was the one to bring back Asajj Ventress. He made that decision. He wanted to do it in Star Wars Resistance. That didn't happen. And so the Bad Batch's final season was the perfect place. On top of this, if Dave Filoni was the one to bring back Asajj for this show, is she going to appear in that final episode? And another reason I think the final episode is going to be rather long is because the penultimate one, episode 14, isn't. It's rather short, just 22 minutes in length. I think it's safe to say the final couple of episodes have a lot to wrap up, and I doubt they're going to do this without setting up another spin-off. So just to reiterate, episode 13 is 24 minutes, episode 14 Flash Strike is 22, I'm assuming this doesn't include credits, and no one knows for episode 15, it's anyone's guess. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this theory video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.